We were going out for breakfast in the morning on a Saturday, and there had been a deer that sadly was hit by a car at the end of our driveway. We talked to the state, got permission to harvest the deer for dog food. So we pulled a little bit of meat off the front of the deer because it had gotten hit in the backside. For our consumption, we made a little bit of ground venison for ourselves and made some venison stir fry. Delicious. But most of the deer, all the ribs, the backside, just, I don't know, probably 2/3 of the deer, at least maybe more than that even, we saved for dog food meat. If you look at some of our old videos, I can link one of these corners here. We tend to make our dog food with either chicken or pork because it's usually cheaper. But because we had all of this meat that was unexpected and was totally free and is, free range and organic for sure, we figured, what the heck, we might as well take it, So we've been setting that up here. Got the grinder all set up. Things are all ready. Getting this all just prepped for turning it on. We love this grinder. I also did a review of this grinder at one point. If I can find the video, I'll put a link in one of the corners as well. But this grinder is a beast. It's a Cabela's commercial grade. I forget the exact size that it is. Let's see if it tells us on here. 3/4 horsepower. Yeah, there you go. This thing really is great. It churns through pretty much anything you can throw at it. I've got to go down in our basement and get the freezer collar. It's got a little collar that you put on there that keeps this metal nice and cold so that the meat pushes through quickly. But, to be totally honest with you, with this meat being so lean with very little fat in it, there's probably little chance that it'll get clogged up anyway, but I still like to use it. But yeah, so we're going to take this venison. We're going to run it through the grinder. This is easily 25 pounds of meat that, once again, was free. Sadly, a deer died for it. She ran in front of a car. It was a doe, and got hit. But hey, we don't want the meat to go to waste, so we're using it. And it was good that the state allowed us to harvest it. It's outside of deer season, of course. We're in the end of winter, so this is not a normal time that we would get venison. But all right, here's the collar that I was talking about. So this is like filled with some sort of liquid. I don't know if it's water or what, but you put it in the freezer and it's super cold. And it snaps on there and it keeps this metal piece really cold for you. All right, so what we can do is we can turn it on. You hear it going there. And then basically, just drop meat in this little hole up here. And you'll see it'll start plunging through the front. And that's it. We're just gonna do that for all this meat. It'll take a little bit of time, but we'll just keep doing that and let it go. All right, the meat is all ground up. You can see we got a nice bin of minced or ground venison here. Got some 1 gallon Ziploc bags. Got my scale out because we're gonna need to measure out 5.25 pound bags because that's what we put in the dog food per batch, and just a scoop. One thing I did do over here is got all the components washed. The one thing that is, I don't know, it's not really a pain, but it's, just not optimal with the meat grinder is that the recommendation is that you never put the components in the dishwasher. So you got to wash all that stuff by hand. And then when you're done, you got to lube it all up. So we bought this food safe silicone lubricant that we use. And this is the other plate that I was telling you about. You can get a thick one or a thin one. This is the thinner one. And this is like a sausage stuffer. And this is a plunger. I didn't show this earlier, but this is what you use to push the meat down through the into the grinder. But we don't really need that too much with meat like this. When you have something that's a little sticky like pork, you'll need that. But yeah, so what we're gonna do here is just scoop this meat out, weigh it out on the scale, get to 5.5 pound bags, and then we'll put all this in the freezer. So I'm gonna start scooping and I'll show you how many bags we get here in a minute. Okay, got everything bagged up. You can see this bin is empty. The dog is staring at me just like, where's my treats? Got it all bagged up, and we ended up with 4 bags of meat. These are each 5.5 pounds. So what's that? That's 15, 16.5 pounds right here. 5.5 pounds makes a fairly good size recipe of dog food. It's the same recipe that I once again linked earlier in the video here. But yeah, so we got 5.5 pounds, 5.5 pounds, 5.5 pounds, and we ended up with a little extra. So this is a 6-pound bag. So on that one, you know, there'll just be a little extra meat in the recipe. A half a pound of extra meat isn't going to really be a problem, and the dog loves the meat, of course. So yeah, I think this is pretty good. You know, we got a good amount of meat here. You know, if you were to buy venison in the store, it's really expensive if you can find it. You know, you're looking at like at least $10 a pound for ground venison most of the time. And, you know, we've got 5, 10, 15, 20, 21, 22.5 pounds here. So that's a lot of meat that we got for the dog that we didn't have to pay for, right? Even if we used chicken or pork, you know, you're looking at easily, you know, $40 worth of meat just from the chicken and the pork. And that's if we get it on sale on a really good deal. And I didn't have to, you know, go buy this. So that's great. We're really happy with this. I'm going to make a batch of dog food probably in a day or two. We'll jump into that with this video here. So it'll look like no time at all for you, but for me, it'll have been a couple days. I'm gonna get these in the freezer for right now, get the tabletop cleaned up here and finish, you know, just cleaning up my mess. But yeah, we're really, really happy with this. One of the good things of living in the country, you know, the deer runs into the road. It's not good for the deer, of course. I am sorry that the deer lost its life. I don't want the deer to die for no reason, especially a doe at this time of year, because she would have been giving birth to a baby, you know, just in a couple of months. So that's kind of a bummer. But outside of that, you know, it's pretty good. I'm happy with this, you know, with this meat. The dog will be happy with it. We enjoy making sure that this animal didn't go to waste, right? I don't want to just leave it on the side of the road. Can't tell you, growing up in Massachusetts, how many times you saw a deer in the city, well, just in the suburbs usually, get hit and just lay on the side of the road and rot away. Same thing when we lived in Florida, you'd see other animals that happen too. That's just such a waste, right? This is meat that's totally serviceable, totally usable. The dog doesn't care that it came from roadkill. It's clean. I butchered it myself. I know, you know, how this meat was handled. All right, so today we're going to make the dog food. We've got one of those 5.5 pound containers of venison. It's still a little bit frozen, but I put it in the insert for the Instapot. And we have 1 pound or 1 cup of carrots. So the recipe that we're going to follow is the one that I put in a previous video, but I'll put the quantities in the bottom of this video again, so that if anybody wants to try to make this recipe at home, you can. So we got 5.5 pounds of venison, 1 cup of carrots. We're going to add some other vegetables at the end. Sometimes we have carrots that are canned, and we'll use those from carrots that we can ourselves. You know, we'll grow them and then can our carrots and save them for eating and for dog food or whatever. But we're all out of those as of right now, the end of the winter. You know, we've eaten them all. So we're going to use some fresh ones. And because they're fresh, they need to be cooked to get soft for the dog to be able to digest them. So we're going to put them in here with the meat while it cooks in the Instapot. The meat's also still a little frozen in the middle. So we'll put this on for a little bit of extra time just to make sure that that gets all the way cooked through. The dog won't care if it's a little raw or if it's overcooked, right? So I'm not too worried about it. But normally we would let it thaw all the way. If we have to give it a mix and then turn the Instapot back on for a little while, that's also fine. You also could just cook this right on the stove if you wanted to. In my very first video that we posted up about making the dog food, we cooked it on the stove and that was perfectly fine. We just find the Instapot to be a little faster and easier. The other thing we're going to cook is we've got 3 cups of rice in here. This is going to make 6 cups of rice. So 3 cups of dry rice to 3 cups of water makes about 6 cups of rice. So this is a mix of brown and white rice, just what we have left over laying around. We had some brown rice that we weren't going to eat. We'll use it in here, and then like a cup of regular old white rice. When we're making this dog food regularly, we will go to Costco, or if you have like a Sam's Club or something by you, any of the larger stores. You can buy like a big bag of really inexpensive rice, and that's what we would use in here. We don't buy like fancy rice for the dog or anything. So this is gonna go on. The meat's gonna go on. Once it's all cooked up, we'll jump back in and I'll show you how we assemble everything. All right, so the meat is done. It went cooked it for like 35-40 minutes of Instapot time, which is actually a lot longer, right? But just how long the Instapot was running. You can see the carrots are smushy. You know, we can smush them easily, so that means the dog will be able to digest them okay. And the meat is well cooked. Once again, the meat doesn't have to be well done or anything, but we do keep this in the fridge for a few days, so I try to make sure it's cooked pretty thoroughly. We're gonna take this, and then we're also going to take the rice, which is here and is now done. See, the rice is finished. So we're gonna take that rice, we're gonna take the meat, and we're gonna put it in this bin. Once it's done in this bin, we'll start adding some other ingredients, which are going to be some candied pumpkin, or some canned pumpkin, not candy, canned pumpkin, and some canned green beans. Well, these are yellow, but same deal, right? As well as some peanut butter. So let me get the meat and the rice in here, and then we'll jump back in. All right, so I got the rice and the meat put in here. You can see there's carrot pieces in there. I also added the half a cup of peanut butter, and then I added one of the cups of beans. I just kind of wanted to show that I squished the beans up a little bit, just because, you know, when they're canned, they're whole, they're bigger pieces, like, you know, that big. The dog likes to have them kind of smushed up a little bit. So I'll give them a good squish with my hands before I put them, you know, as I'm putting them in here. And then as we mix them, they'll break up even more. It just makes it a little more easier for him to be able to digest them. So I'm gonna continue on with that. I've got the beans, and then the recipe calls for apples. I don't have any apples right now. So what I'm gonna use is pumpkins, and that's fine. You can kind of switch out vegetables, as long as it's a vegetable that the dog can eat. You know, if you had beets or other vegetables that dogs like to eat, you could put those in there. Peas, that kind of thing. So we're gonna go ahead and squish up the beans, get them in here. Do the same thing with the pumpkins. You're just gonna kind of squish them. You basically just wanna make pumpkin puree, and then we'll come back and I'll show you how we mix it all together. All right, so we drained the beans and the pumpkin. We went ahead and mashed them, you know, a rough hand mash, so not like with the blender or anything. Just a quick mash with your hands to kind of start breaking them up. But remember, I did drain them. It's important to note that we don't put the liquid from the beans or any other canned vegetables in here. The only liquid that stays is the liquid from cooking the meat. And then basically all you're gonna wanna do is just give this a good mix. You can see the rice should mix in. Everything should kind of blend together. And when you're done, you should have something that's pretty well incorporated. So this will take a little while, but you're just gonna mix and mix and mix and mix. And I'll set you down here for a minute while I do this, and we'll come back when it's all mixed up. Okay, here we have it. As you can see, it's very well incorporated. The ingredient that you're seeing here, of course, is meat, because there's a lot of meat compared to all the other ingredients. You just want it to be really well incorporated so that there's not any large chunks of anything in here. And as you can see, there isn't. There's just some meat. You can definitely make out that there's other stuff in there, like that's a piece of green bean or a piece of bean there, some carrot right there, right? There, you can tell that there's food in here for sure, but it's not anything that's like a huge chunk of something. You want to make sure that it's really well mixed up, because remember, dogs don't chew their food very well. They just kind of inhale this stuff. So you want to have it pretty digestible for them. As you can see here, got somebody waiting to see if anything falls. He's staring at the floor, waiting to see if we get any snacks for him. But they'll be pretty excited to eat this usually. The way that we feed the dog with this is we'll put a scoop of this on top of their evening kibble and their morning kibble, and just kind of add it as a topper for their food. I know that the recipe where I got this from that website, I forget the name of the website, but if you look back in my old video, I'll try to link it in one of the corners here somewhere. It will show you, you know, the ingredients that you can use to make this a whole food for your dog so that you don't have to use kibble. We just give this as an addition to the kibble. So it's like half kibble, half this. But yeah, so that's how we're using some of this venison. I think it's important that we don't let resources go to waste. We don't let that animal's life be wasted, right? It was unfortunate that it got hit by a car, but we can make good food out of that deer. So this is one batch. This will get us through several days with the dog. We have multiple batches that we can make from this venison. So this venison is definitely going to go to good use. It's going to be great for the dog. This is a very healthy addition to his food. And once again, you feel like you're doing something okay because you're not letting that meat just rot on the side of the road. All right, so we're in my basement refrigerator. Let's see, like, this is where I store all my seeds. They keep beer in here. We don't drink beer, but for when our visitors come, we sometimes will have beer. So there's some beer. But yeah, tallow, seeds, that kind of stuff. But really, what we're gonna get here is some of this dog food. It's time to feed the dog his dinner. We're letting this cool down still, so about a half a cup today. So we'll get this, bring it upstairs, put it in his food, and see how he likes it. Okay, you see he's interested. So we just have his normal food there. I take a little bit away because we're gonna put this in there. Set this in the sink for a minute so it didn't get on the countertop. I'll put this on top of his food. So this is how we tend to feed him. Just kind of put it across the top of the food like that. As we give him more, he hasn't eaten this food for a couple weeks. So for right now, we'll just give him a little bit. You can increase the proportion of this to the kibble as time goes on. You just don't want to give him a big shock to his stomach. So bring this down to feed him, see what he thinks. All right, he is just about ready. We make him sit before we feed him. So we're gonna put the food down here. He'll wait like a good boy. Who's a good boy? See, he's drooling everywhere. He's so gross. Go. See if he likes it. There you go. I would say that's the sign of him approving of this recipe. So yeah, if you want to make this yourself, I'll have the description down in the video below, description below. Also, if you enjoy this kind of video, feel free to subscribe to the channel. Click the little thumb arrow or thumb button so that you can give it a thumbs up. And also, if you click the bell, it'll let you know when we make new videos. So thanks for watching. Appreciate your time. Have a good one.